welcome to the very first podcast with no name. we hopefully we get that figured out. I guess by next week. Hey, Zig.
Yeah, hopefully.
But yeah, we just wanted to start something up that we're my cousin and I, Ziggy, and we'll be making. I don't even know what I'm saying. We're gonna make a podcast. We're gonna talk about video games. We're excited to talk about video games. We're gonna start it off by just introducing ourselves and kind of like let everyone know like who we are, how we got into games. I think even like what our favorite game or franchise is, if we can't even get down to our favorite game, because I think that's pretty tough for me. But yeah, Ziggy, why don't you start us off with what's your favorite franchise or game?
So my favorite game is Near Automata. And just I mean the story in that game obviously is such a just unique and special thing. The characters are something else. It's not really like any other game I've played. And my favorite franchise would probably be Half-Life. Partly
Hmm.
because of nostalgia, like it's a big part of what got me into games is Half-Life 2. And also, I mean, it's just the way that they built up that world and that the interconnectedness of that universe is just so crazy and fascinating to me. How about you?
Yeah, no, that's cool. Before I get to me, I want to say like I think that's really interesting because I have not played near Automata and I have not played Half-Life other than I played the very first few minutes of Half-Life 1 and that was it. And that was back
Mhm.
before I kind of was into playing on my PC. So back then it was very odd for me to use a mouse and keyboard and I just wasn't into it. So it's kind of that blind spot for me, and I think it's interesting that you being a lot younger than me, that's like something that, it got you into games. I think that's really cool, and probably not as common for people of your age, right?
Somewhat, yeah. No, I definitely like my first. Well, my first exposure to games was like at friends' houses mostly. I didn't get super into games until a bit later,
Hmm.
but my major exposure to playing games like at my own house was mostly just on my dad's laptop. And given that it was an old laptop, it could run indie games
Oh
and
yeah,
old games pretty much. So like Half-Life was a big one. Portal 2 is another big one. I've played that game
nice.
probably upwards of like 12, 13 times at this point. It's like I can like visualize the levels in my head. And yeah, and those two games just were super transformative in showing me like what games could actually be and what it could achieve with stories and writing and
Hmm.
sort of how like free form it is. Because I think before that, my main exposure was like Lego games on the Wii was a big one, like playing those at friends' houses.
Yeah.
Um, and then Star Fox Assault and Super Smash Brothers Melee on the GameCube at
Awesome.
also my friend's house. Like those sort of like the big definitive games of my early years.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's awesome. My favorite, I don't know if I have a favorite game, but it's always whenever I think of them, it's got to be a tie between. No, I'm gonna make a choice. I'm gonna make a choice. it My favorite game has got to be Zelda Wind Waker. Uh,
Mm.
oh man, that's hard to say that though.
What's the other one?
The other one would be Bioshock One. Uh,
Yeah.
for me, both those games. I probably talk about Bioshock more though than any of them between the two. But yeah, Bioshock just changed how I saw story in video games. When I played through that, of course, back when it came out, and I was 17 or 16 or 17, and I just remember my uncle. He introduced it to me before it came out, and I was over at his house, and I remember being sheltered, and I never saw bloody stuff. I never saw like crazy video games, and I remember seeing this the CG trailer where it's like going into the water and you're watching first person and Jack's walking through or whatever, and you're like grabbing the little sister and you get drilled from from in front and like holding the hand out and the drill's going through the hand and stuff. I remember being almost traumatized watching that. My uncle's like, "This is awesome." This is Jahia, by the way, and he's like, "Check this out. This is pretty cool." And I remember being, actually, it wasn't set. Yeah, I was 14, I think. But yeah, I remember being, yeah, I was 14, and I remember just thinking like, "Whoa, man! Like this is violent. This isn't Mario.
It's
This isn't
crazy, yeah.
Zelda." And I just remember thinking that's so crazy. Um, So when it came out, I had to sneak out and buy it from Rogers because they didn't check for ID for getting a mature game. And I just remember I got in big trouble after my parents found out. But it's like that was my like second. That was one that just like it opened my mind to what games could be and how a scary game can still be so cool and interesting to play, even like even if you're scared, it's worth going through because it's rewarding to play through to the end, and it's not just there to scare you. It's just an added. It's a creepy world. It's a sad world, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Wind Waker is my number one because that's the first Zelda game that I actually completed 100%. And I even remember the moment. I remember being at my dad's friend's house, and I was just the kid playing in the corner on the friend's TV, and I'm just playing Wind Waker on the GameCube my aunt let me borrow, and just being like, okay, like I'm climbing this rope, oh, there's a boss or whatever, and then finishing the game, seeing credits, and being like, oh, this is what it's like to finish a game, because I didn't know before that, right? Like I think I was 10 when that happened, and I just remember thinking like, that's so cool. Like and just every step of Wind Waker is so fun. It was like at that time very open world feeling, go to all these islands. I think there's like 49 islands that you can check out, and just sailing between them, and you're a kid, so you don't feel like, oh, it's taking forever to sail to this island. You're just like, oh, this is cool. Oh, there's some seagulls, and there's an Octorok, and I'm gonna kill this one. Oh, cool, I unlocked a double-sized magic meter. Like, being a kid, you're just like, this is so awesome. I'm exploring and I'm checking out new things and all that. So for me, it's just the nostalgia probably more than anything, but I play through that game at least once a year.
Yeah, no, I definitely had a similar experience with Skyward Sword on the Wii.
Really?
And it's hard to say that that's one of my favorite games now, though, just because
Yeah,
it's it's not that great of a game. It, like, looking back,
that's fine, but
I just have an insane amount of nostalgia for it in really similar ways. Yeah, like just I mean, there is a lot of really cool parts in Skyward Sword. To be fair, like the story is still one of my favorite Zelda stories, and like some of the boss designs, like Galactos, the big like 6 arm like robot statue thing,
Oh yeah,
that was
yeah.
still like a super memorable boss. But yeah, there is just a magic to Zelda games, especially when you're like, I feel like so many people have a story of like a Zelda game as one of those really formative, like, oh yeah, wow, this is like just as such a magical experience. I
Yeah,
know, like even Breath of the Wild, which was what 2-3 years ago now. Yeah,
it
geez,
almost, yeah, it's like
I
three and a
wanted to
half.
say like
Yeah.
a year and a half ago, but no, it's been so much longer than that. But like I'd been well established to gaming at that point, but it still
Mhm.
had like that crazy sense of magic to it. That's
Yeah,
just kind of
that one,
like
they did
not
it
many
with
other
that one.
games can really do that.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where you're like, they did it.
Yeah.
Sure, there's things that I wish they had and little parts that were missing, but I know they worked
Mhm,
hard on that physics engine, and I never ran into any glitches, any issues playing through my game
mhm,
that broke. Had an I know people could exploit stuff, but that I
mhm,
think that's like Nintendo polish right there.
mhm.
There's an object that's supposed to be here, and it isn't blown away by the wind, like I heard they were having issues with way back.
Yeah.
So.
Honestly, Breath of the Wild, now that I say it, would probably, in my opinion, be the best game I've played,
Hmm.
but not necessarily like my favorite. Like Nier
Mhm.
Automata is one of those things where the story and characters, like I said, are just like means so much to me personally
Yeah.
that makes it like my favorite, but it also is very technically lacking. The gameplay is good, but like it gets stale after 20 hours, and like it's a really flawed game that I can look past most of those flaws, but like if I were to rate it on like a objective scale, I would maybe give it like a 6 or a 7, to be completely honest. It's just it has those like thematic elements that make
Hmm.
it pretty transcendent to me. But Breath of the Wild, as far as raw like game design and just like emotion too, that like it just makes you feel everything when you're playing it, is just such a crazy
Yeah.
experience.
Hey, I honestly, when that first Breath of the Wild trailer came out, I actually
I
got
I
teary eyed.
remember like yeah, I remember like where I was at that moment. Like I remember being at my friend's house and watching that and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy."
Yeah, yeah, no, that's good. So I wanted to also talk today about just things that we're excited about, or things like, because just had a week of a ton of stuff being announced and game
Mhm.
trailers and whatever, and we don't have to go over everything, obviously, but is there anything that stuck out to you that maybe you're like, oh, I saw a trailer, or this game was announced, or whatever, that sounds interesting, or that you're like, I don't know if they got it. I think this one's gonna not do so great.
Yeah. The Suicide Squad game, I
Hmm.
am actually super excited for. I don't know, superhero media has never really like clicked with me personally. Um but I don't know, something about that trailer, like the writing in it was just super funny to me. The like you said, and Suicide Squad 2 always just felt sort of like cringe edgy to me in a way that didn't really click. But
Yeah,
some
no, I
I don't know.
understand.
There's like the look of that trailer and the feel of it just felt so different from a lot of games that are being released right now. And obviously, I mean, it's so hard to form an opinion because it was just like a short film essentially.
Yeah,
But is that Little Nightmares 2, which they showed at Gamescom yesterday.
yeah, that looks
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, Little Nightmares 1, I think, is in like the 40s on my top 50 games, which I have like a list written out. I think that's like 41 or 42.
Yeah,
It's such a just cool experience. And so having that like in co-op and just more of it is super exciting to me.
we
Um
should play it together.
yeah, for sure. Um what was the other one? Medal of Honor, the new like the Medal of Honor VR
Oh, I didn't watch
is
that trailer.
really exciting to me.
Hmm.
Because well, Medal of Honor isn't. I don't think I've ever played a Medal of Honor game. It's not really a series I've experienced with, but Respawn is, in my opinion, like the best first-person shooter developer working right now. With, I mean, like Respawn and id are pretty close, but I would put Respawn above them. So
They're
them
definitely one of the
working,
best. Yeah.
yeah, them working in VR, which hasn't really been like cracked yet as far as shooters go, is really exciting to me to see what they put out.
I'll
What
have to
about you?
check that trailer out because yeah, that's like I think I missed that Respawn was making that, so I kind of just went, oh, Medal of Honor, never been a thing for me. Oh, and it's VR. I don't know, but
Yeah,
the fact
yeah,
that it's Respawn, I'll have to check that one out. Plus I have VR, so
yeah,
it'd be
yeah,
something I'd worth. Do you have VR? I haven't actually
yeah,
asked you
yeah.
that. Oh, nice. What
I
do
have
you
an
have?
Oculus Quest somewhere in
Ah,
here.
that sounds like a good one. I just have like
Yeah,
a very old HTC Vive, like one of the first models. So
honestly, yeah. No, I know. Yeah, I'm a little sad with Oculus. I know this last week they mentioned that they're going to start requiring Facebook accounts to
mhm.
be linked to your Oculus account, and that's
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of that at all.
no, I
It's
don't
like
think
it's
anyone is.
upsetting to me.
Yeah, the tech
Yeah,
itself sounds pretty nice, but yeah, that's a unfortunate.
yeah, it's
That's
tough.
a dumb
I've
decision.
almost been thinking of picking up the new HP Reverb. I think that's who makes it, HP. Because it seems just kind of like the Index but cheaper, which I'm down
Which
for.
is good. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 100%. Anyways, yeah, what trailers do you think look cool? Are you
Uh,
excited for?
I'm actually interested in Suicide Squad too, or as well.
Yeah,
I of course it's like a CG trailer, but like, is it a CG trailer? I think it is.
yeah, yeah.
I
It seems you could definitely see the gameplay in it though.
but like I was looking at the freeze frames, and I'm like, those that graphic fidelity could be hit,
Mhm.
say at 30 frames a second. You could
Yeah,
targets that, maybe not with a city and stuff in the background, but those character models themselves, I was like, oh, that character model could be an in-game model. That was kind of something where I was coming from. And obviously lighting now with ray tracing can be like that, right? So I
Mhm.
was like, oh, but besides that, just the vibe. Yeah, I thought like, oh, this looks like fun. I would love to just get in and do a little co-op game of like Suicide Squad, jump around, and like I like that humor. Like I laughed a couple times watching that trailer.
Yeah,
I
me
thought
too.
it hit the beats that I needed it to hit. I know some people are pissed that Superman's a villain and whatever, but I'm like you, where actually I'm probably a little bit more fanboy about like the superhero stuff, but not so much. Like I've never read a damn comic in my life, and for like I've read like little blurbs and stuff, but not like actually held a comic book and gone through it. So put that against me if you want, but I've
Mhm.
liked the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I've liked the Batman movies,
Mhm.
but other than that, I'm just kind of more like, oh yeah, it's a movie, and the games have never enticed me. Never, I didn't play
Mhm.
Spider-Man. No, never wanted to. For me, it's more. I like in a movie or even in a story. Like heck, I'd read a comic book. I just never went out and got one. Didn't. It's too overwhelming to know where to start. But the fact that they can get into a situation, this character has a certain amount of abilities or whatever. How are they going to use their abilities to get out of it? I always find that really cool. And for me, if it's a game, it's usually 90, there'll be the cutscenes where you mash X or something to do something really cool and unique, but otherwise 90% of the time you're doing your standard moves that you're going to see over and over again. And for me, that's not as exciting. Like I understood why people like the Arkham games and I liked playing them, but it's still a similar vibe where it's like, okay, I got my moves, that's that kind of thing.
Yeah, like to me, watching DC Fandom, like that trailer was just such a standout. The Arkham Knights, like, just sort of looked
Gotham Knights.
or Gotham Knights, yeah. It just looked like what I would expect from Batman game. Like it looks dark, it looks kind of moody. Like
they just
like
added
the boss fight, and
bars.
it just looked like something I've seen before, which isn't necessarily bad. Like it looks cool. The story.
I think they needed it to look mostly the same.
Yeah, but like there's something about Suicide Squad that just stood out so much to me as far as like just honestly the fact that it took place during the day is enough for it to stand out amongst a lot of game trailers right now.
Yeah, I think like seeing that it's only going to be on Series X, PS5 and PC so far confirmed, right? Then it gives me hope that like it's going to have ray tracing standardized as a thing. It's coming out 2 years from now, so that could, even for PCs, the graphics card could be more affordable. But like, if you want that to be the standard, where then having it at night is totally fine. But I think during the day will also look really good with that kind of technology. Because I mean, just playing through like Metro Exodus on my PC with that looks so good during the day, right? And it just adds to every little inanimate object that's sitting around, right? But yeah, so besides that though, for Little Nightmares 2 looked really cool. I didn't write anything down, which is fine, but that's kind of, I did that on purpose, wanting to like see what actually stuck with me instead of like having to remember it. But I was actually kind of underwhelmed this week with like I didn't find much to be looking forward to for this year, So besides the stuff that I'm excited for, I mean, I could go through a list of stuff I'm excited for, but oh, that's fine. I could go through a list of stuff I'm excited for, but none of it's this year, or almost none of it's this year. So right now, I'm looking forward to Cyberpunk 2077, and one little one is September 3rd, Spellbreak, I think it's called, or Spellbreakers, one of the two. And that looked interesting.
Yeah, what is that? I saw the trailer for it. When I was reacting to it, there was someone that was saying that they were excited for it, but I don't actually really know what it is.
Let's see. I'm just gonna pull it up here because I've heard stuff, but I want to make sure I'm not speaking false.
Okay.
Spellbreak is an epic fantasy action spellcasting game where players fight to become an all-powerful battle mage. Weave spectacular spell combinations, craft strategic builds, and master your environment as you dominate the Hollow Lands solo or with friends in a non-stop quest for survival. So I heard that it was a battle royale, but this is where I don't know. That's the thing I don't know. It is free to play. It's on Epic Games Store. It looked closer to
like a MOBA almost from that trailer.
Oh, the official
or like
site.
Something. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, maybe it is, right? It's showing on Epic Games Store for PC, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox. Rated teen, so I'm not old enough. But yeah, I don't know. But the fact that you can play with friends or on your own, I don't know, that's cool. I've been talking to my brother, just saying, hey, do you want to try this out? It could be great. It could suck. But I love that it looks like Breath of the Wild kind of visuals. And I think I love magic in games. And I think like playing as a little elemental mage would be awesome. I love the element fire. That's like my go-to element in anything. So I'll totally be rocking that and trying it out. But yeah, those would be for this week's announcements. Suicide Squad is one I talked most about at work, I'd say, with people. And then I I mentioned Spellbreak today, and then I've just been talking about the fact that PS5 is picking and choosing their pre-orders carefully. So I don't know if we want to
Yeah.
go into that now, but it just came naturally.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. You mentioned before that like the opening night live seemed just disappointing to you, and
Yeah.
I definitely would agree. Like to me, I know in my reaction stream, I felt like I said the words like I'm sure someone's excited about that. Like almost every trailer I said that because so many of them were just like niche and not niche in like a particularly interesting way. It's niche in the sense of like, oh, a Warframe expansion. Like, I don't play Warframe, so I don't really care. Like, Warframe looks cool, but I like it's way too late for me to get into that. Like a World of Warcraft
Yeah.
expansion, again, cool. I don't even know anybody that plays that game personally. I know people do. I know people are excited about that, but like, there's just a lot of those where it's like I'm it's just or like there's two Warhammer games, which same thing. Like I know there's a pretty devoted Warhammer community, but it just have so much of those announcements that were like
It's a lot of things if you're not into that to be waiting
yeah,
for the thing you're excited for. Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
the guys at work laugh at me all the time. I swear every time it's like, oh, someone's gonna announce something, and I'll say, it might be Elden Ring.
It might be Elden Ring.
And then like, no, of course not.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, I'm not the kind of person to ever lose hope. So obviously, okay, now Game Awards. Will there be something? And I'm
Yeah,
expecting
yeah.
March now, but it could come and go. And if that
Mhm.
happens, whatever. It sucks, but I want it to be a good game. So like, who knows? Maybe before it comes out, Demon Souls remaster will come out, and I'll
Yeah,
try
yeah.
that out. So that's fine.
Yeah. I don't know. It seemed like there was like just very very few like notable or like exciting games that would be exciting for everyone, I suppose. And
Mhm.
of those games like Ratchet and Clank or Call of Duty or like those bigger ones, they only really showed stuff that we've already seen before. Like that Ratchet and Clank demo was, correct me if I'm wrong, that was the same one they showed at the PS5 event, right?
Yeah, from
Like
my
those were the same
understanding,
levels and
it was the
mechanics that
same
they were
thing.
showing.
It was just more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was just like a slightly extended thing of the thing that we've already seen before, which was it was so strange to hype up that thing of like, oh, we're gonna have a whole Ratchet and Clank demo when we've all kind of already seen that demo, you know?
Yeah.
And same thing with like Call of Duty. They didn't really show anything super notable. Like we got more from Call of Duty the day before it when they were just like
Yeah.
showing trailers.
Or
Like it
was it the
was
day before or the morning? Like I can't remember, but
yeah, yeah, me neither. But
yeah, they showed that
it was
trailer.
so
There was more there than what they showed.
yeah, it was so puzzling. Or like I guess Fall Guys season 2 was like one of the only like exciting notable new announcements there. Like even like the of the trailers I wasn't really excited about, like Little Nightmares 2
Mm.
and Medal of Honor. They didn't show anything new with those games. Like I was just excited to see more of those because I'm
Yeah.
excited for those games, and I'm glad they're like still focusing on them from a marketing perspective.
Yep.
But like Little Nightmares 2, I know nothing more than I did before, other than maybe a release date. Because now we know it's coming out in February, I think. And same with Medal of Honor.
Well, I
Like
gotta
we
update
know
the
the VR
calendar.
World War II game, but like we don't really know anything more. Like I would have really liked to see movement in that game because just physically moving around in VR,
In
you know,
VR. Yeah, that's
is such a
important.
weird thing that no one's really figured out. So I'm interested to see how they tackle that in that game. We didn't see that. We just saw like really its setting, and that's kind of it, you know.
I figured out VR moving. I just have to run in one place, even if it's just like touchpad motion. Like I'll just like be touching the touchpad, and your screen's just moving on its own, and I just walk it in one
Mhm.
spot, just trying to make my brain think I'm still walking.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
um,
I mean, the closest we've gotten is really like Half-Life Alex, I think, as far as because like the smooth locomotion in that felt fine to me. Like it didn't really make me sick. It didn't really break my immersion, but it's still like I feel like we can do better.
I never got to play it. Couldn't afford to.
Yeah,
I was too much of a prude. I was like, well, I don't want to play with this old HTC Vive, so I'm not going to buy a new VR kit right now, but
Yeah.
that's one that's like, in the background, I'd like to buy it. Plus, it's like probably worth the money. But for me and how often I'll play it, I was like, I'm not going to spend that money on that right now.
Yeah.
So,
Half-Life Alex is definitely like, I will be amazed if that's not my game of the year. I will be absolutely astounded if something breaks that, because
really,
I mean, honestly, even if it came out and it
sell out.
was like mediocre, if it was like an 8 out of 10 game, it would still probably be my game of the year, just for the fact that like a new Half-Life game actually got released is just like, that's just so insane to me. Like I still remember like so clearly looking on Reddit and seeing rumors like, oh, they're gonna announce a new VR Half-Life game this
Hmm.
Tuesday, and like I see that every fucking week. That was
Yeah.
such a like non-announcement to me. It was like, okay. And then I remember going on my break at work and sitting down. I remember like the table I sat down at, opening
Yeah.
up my phone and seeing, holy shit, like a
Yeah.
tweet from a new Valve account saying that, like saying the name Half-Life Alex and saying that they're showing a trailer next Thursday. I like just my mind, like I just texted all my friends immediately, like, holy shit, it like this is real. This is actually real and it's happening. And it came out and like made the future of the Half-Life series tangible again. Like it has a direction to go. We might actually get a game called Half-Life 3, which is like
That's when I'll
it
play
just
1 and 2.
blows my mind. It
That's
just
when.
absolutely destroys me.
Yeah, well, I hope that works out for you. But not
God,
before I
me
get
too.
Elden Ring. I need to get that first.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so, what do you think of Avengers? Because that's a game that I think looks like it's going to disappoint. There's going to be a group of people that play it, and they're going to love it, and they're going to enjoy it. But I don't think that number is going to be the number that the publishers and the developers want it to be. I think it will
Yeah.
be maybe at first, and then I think it's gonna go. And if not by October, then by the time people get their hands on Cyberpunk and Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Call of Duty, and then
Yeah.
it's like Avengers is just gonna the amount of players playing it, I feel, is just gonna drop. And then if they don't get their stuff figured out by the time Spider-Man is exclusive and comes out for PS4 or whatever for PlayStation,
Yeah.
and they don't make it so that you can play with multiple of the same hero, then like I can just picture. I tweeted it out the other day, but I was like, I can just picture everyone's gonna be playing Spider-Man. No one can matchmake now because they're all in their little community. Like, I want to be Spider-Man. No, I want to be Spider-Man. It's like no one can play together
Yeah.
now because like Spider-Man's the
Yeah, I
coolest.
I agree. I think like it really seems like the only real appeal of that game is the IP that it's based on. Like
Mhm.
if that game came out and it was like and it was a new IP, like new superheroes that we hadn't seen,
Yes.
nobody would care. Like maybe 5 people would think that it looks cool. And I mean, and obviously it is Avengers, so people care. Like you can't discount that. And it does have like those decades of history behind it, but at the end of the day, it looks just so much like a by the numbers Destiny like that it's hard to really think that it'll stand out. Like I agree. I think it'll have pretty decent numbers on launch. Um, but I think after the shininess of an Avengers game where you can play as all your favorite heroes wears off, and I think that'll wear off pretty quick for a lot of people, it's just gonna be another games as a service. Like it's gonna sort of fade into the Anthem and the Division and all the other ones that sort of like had their moment and then very quickly disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, although, I mean, I'm going off of looks here, of course. I played the Division, and that game plays great.
Yeah, no, I love the
Where it's
Division.
like,
I'm saying the Division
yeah,
from a big fan
I,
of the Division.
I
Yeah,
agree. It still fizzled off real quick, all that stuff. But like, even the Division still looked a lot better than the way Avengers looks.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
at least in terms of what you can do and animations and everything. I just feel like it looks like a lot of, okay, we're putting you in a different environment now. Beat up these guys again.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Cool.
It seems like a lot of the things that turned me off, because I tried playing Warframe a while ago, and it just every mission felt the same.
Hmm.
Like
That's
it
what
was
pulled me away from.
brutal
Yeah, I
to
couldn't get
me.
into Warframe either. I could
Um,
do it for a
and
week.
it seems the same way. It just like has an established IP, and also like when I think back to the reveal trailer of the Avengers versus the reveal trailer of Suicide Squad, which were largely pretty similar. Like they were CG trailers showing the characters, showing the tone.
Mhm.
And I remember when I watched the Avengers one, I was like, ugh, like what the fuck? Like they all just looked like weird, like Chinese bootleg versions of the MCU. Like it was really
Yeah.
weird and uncanny looking. Versus like the Suicide Squad, I did not have that effect at all. Like
Hmm.
they all those characters immediately felt likable to me. There was none of that. Like that's I don't know how I feel about this direction. Like it was a pretty instantly into it.
Interesting.
Um, and like rumors say those are probably going to be similar types of games as far as like both games as a service. Um, we'll see how that actually turns out because I mean rumors are rumors, and from the
Mhm.
press release they put out, it sounds like it's maybe not that simple. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I do not have any real hype for Avengers personally. I mean, it's like I said, I don't really care about that IP, and the without the IP, that game doesn't seem that interesting to me.
Honestly,
So
they need to make sure whatever Suicide Squad does, they just need to make sure the gameplay is fun, that the combat loop is
yeah,
fun, like that category I want to have in reviews. Like the loop of the game needs to be enjoyable. That's honestly the only thing that Destiny has going for it right now is that it's fun to play that game. And then for people who are just like they've invested so much time, because I was super into Destiny for like 5 years or so, like
hmm
uh and like I'm not into it now. I try to get it back into it. I'm like, man, this is so good, like to play it, but I just I've been away now for like a year, and I just can't put the time into it anymore. I just don't want to do it. So
hmm
if they can do that kind of a thing where the gameplay is just so solid, it's so good. Where Avengers does not look like that, and I'm not hearing it's like that. If they can do that with
yeah,
Suicide Squad, then I think that they'll have a winning situation, even if system wise it starts out the same as Avengers.
hmm yeah. No, I agree. And even something like Anthem, which I never played the full release, but I played the beta that, and it was one of those things where the like just controlling it and shooting felt very cool, like very good. It was
Yeah,
just everything around that kind of sucked.
yeah,
And so I feel like even if you have that like core really good gameplay loop like Destiny has, like the shooting in that game just feels so good, and like jumping and moving around. Um but yeah, if you don't have like decent mission structure and a something to keep you playing other than just oh it feels good to control, it's yeah, it's
yeah.
gonna fade away
Rewards that
pretty
are
quick.
worth it, things to do that are interesting, and just something that feels right. When you press the button, it does the thing you feel like it should be doing. That kind of
Mhm.
stuff. I bought Anthem. I played it when it came out. I played the beta. I played the full release and played through the whole thing with Jesse, my brother, and we had a great time. But once we finished it, we're like, okay, that's it, I guess. Then
Yeah.
uninstalled it and haven't touched it since. So, and plus, I think Division 2 came out right after that. I think we played it for about a week and a half, and we beat it. And then we put it down,
Mhm.
uninstalled it, and installed Division 2. Played that for a month. Ended that, and then we bought the Warlords of New York. Anyways, that's a whole other thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
we don't play it anymore. That's short of it. But yeah. Um, I wanted to also bring up Unlock Phone. Uh, yes, the new Switch model rumor.
Oh
I
yeah.
want to hear what you have to say about that, because for me, I think it's possible that they have a new console come out next year. I have a little more to say on that, so I'll let you go first. But
Okay.
I want to hear what you think.
Personally, I always take Nintendo rumors, especially with just a massive grain of salt. Like more than almost any other company in gaming. Like Nintendo just attracts the wildest shit. Like when
That's
you
true.
like just look at any Smash Bros rumor, it's so crazy what people like just
Master Chief's
solidify
going to
as
be in
fact.
Smash Bros.
Um, no, and that's the thing. People are talking about like that like it was fact for so long, and
It's
it's
not happening.
it's not. That's insane. Um, and so I think with this, it has a little more validity to it, but I don't personally think we're going to get like a Switch Pro in the same sense that there was like a PS4 Pro and a Series or it's not Series X, One X. Um,
Why not?
I think it will look a little more similar to like the revision model we got last year. I think where it was
The
just
light?
like better. Yeah, no, the one where it was just like there's as better battery life, and they didn't really say
Oh,
much about it. I think it's going to be more similar to that, where it's not going to have like it's still just going to be called the Nintendo Switch, but it's a better model of it. It might have like a higher resolution display, or actually probably not that. It might just have like something to it that makes it a little nicer. Maybe they'll fix the Joy Cons. God, I hope they fix the Joy Cons.
I don't
um,
use the Joy-Cons, so it's never been an issue for me.
yeah, no, the drift is such a problem. But I personally think it's going to be something a little more in line with that. I don't think it's going to be like a big like 4K box or something. I will be amazed if it runs anywhere close to 4K. I think
Yeah.
that sort of stuff just isn't really what Nintendo does. Like they're currently with their 720p slash 1080p system, it's fine. Like when I'm playing Animal Crossing or even Breath of the Wild, which is a really pretty game, I never look at that and go, "Oh man, that like I wish it ran at a steady 30 frames per second, but I never really wish it was like in 4K. You know, like it
Looks
looks
pretty great in
fine.
4K on my computer.
Oh, I bet. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, if it is a major revision, that'd be awesome. Like I could see that happening too. But even if it was a major revision, I think it'd be closer to like the new. Was it just called the new 3DS XL, where it was
Uh,
like it had
I
the
think it was just the
extra.
3DS XL. I don't know if there was
Wasn't
the
there a
one
revision
new.
after that though? I don't remember. I
Oh,
never had a
oh.
3DS, but
Yeah, no, you might be right. Oh, you haven't? I had a. Actually, Jesse has my original 3DS that I got it when it launched, and then they dropped the price right away. And I got that
yeah,
ambassador program, like bunch of like old games. So then I transferred all that to my. I have the 3DS XL. And I was actually playing Animal Crossing on it the other day just to see if I would like that because Taylor was playing the Switch version, and
mhm,
I didn't enjoy it. So
yeah, yeah. It's not really for me either. I played a bit of New Horizons and it like I played it for maybe a month, which I guess actually is kind of a while for
yeah,
me.
that's
But
about how long I played it. But it was just to help Taylor
yeah,
out.
yeah. No, it was fine. It's definitely not my game of the year, but I respect it for what it is.
Yeah, yeah, they're
But
killing
yeah,
it.
back to
Yeah,
Switch.
yeah.
I think like the most we'll get is just like a bit of a bump, not in the sense of um resolution, but more just hey, you can play Breath of the Wild in a steady 30 frames per second now. Like it won't dip
Mm,
down to like 20 when you enter the what's it called I don't know. There's some zones in that game that really tank.
yeah,
We might just
the
get like
forest.
steadier frame rates on older games. Maybe I don't think it's going to be as exciting as maybe some people think.
Gotcha. So my wild, I like to be a little crazy here. get my get my creative juices flowing here. I like to think that I'm with you on the not hitting 4K. I don't
Mhm,
I'm with you on that. But I do think that whatever hardware, I'm just going to use Breath of the Wild as my example of a game where it doesn't even hit 30 all the time.
mhm,
you know, I think that they stick with the 720p handheld screen, and then it can
mhm,
go up to 1080p for your games. But maybe it supports a high resolution for if Netflix ever fucking comes to it. But no, but like I don't know. I just think that if they had a way that you could like stream video a little bit higher resolution, it'd be cool. But really, I think that they stick with the 720 1080. That's fine, but they make the hardware more powerful to where you could play Zelda Breath of the Wild in theory at 60, not just stable 30, but like where you can
mhm,
actually run this game real smooth. If that feels so nice, and I really want
mhm,
that. So that's the only reason it's not really logical. It's just what I want. Um, the part that I feel is a little bit more realistic though is that if it does launch, say in March, being I think like 4 years later than the original Switch, right?
mhm,
Then that comes out with in my theory is that Breath of the Wild was supposed or the second one, Breath of the Wild 2 or the sequel for it is supposed to come out this fall or this holiday season. It's getting pushed COVID and everything, and that it would launch with the new version of the system, and that it would be a significant upgrade to where you could see a difference running on it, right? Because I don't think just up like a minor upgrade like the battery for before, I think that it's 4 years later, they can do a thing that you can actually see. Call it the switcheroo. But no. And I think that just like something that can play your games a little bit better, has more power, because then, you know, a Doom port should be able to hit 30 all the time or something like that, you know, where it's like a little bit better. It doesn't have to be crazy. We already know the graphics don't really matter for the Switch, but it's been a few years. They need to bump it up enough. They need to make it at least 4 years newer, I think. And yeah, to be able to play Breath of the Wild 2 or have the sequel come out at the same time would be huge. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. That it could be that. Not expecting it, but that's what I think.
I could definitely see it having like sort of similar to like the Xbox One to the Xbox One S, where it largely plays games in a similar way. Like there isn't a real bump in resolution or performance there, but like it has the ability for 4K output. You can stream in 4K. Yeah. It was a 4K DVD or a Blu-ray player, which obviously the Switch can't be that. But something like that, where it has better output capabilities, better streaming capabilities, maybe it's better form factor, like those slight sort of like quality of life improvements to it.
Yeah, you explain it much better than me, but yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Something like that I could definitely see, yeah, where it's like not this like big Switch Pro 4K thing that a lot of people are talking about, but something still a significant upgrade, but something more focused on quality of life rather than high performance games. The one thing that interests me is how well Switch is going to do in the coming generation, because obviously, I mean, Switch has never been the place to play big AAA third-party games, but once games are exclusively releasing on like PS5 and Series X, I don't even think you'll be able to get a port of those unless they're crazy well optimized and crazy scalable. So I feel like it's gonna be interesting to see how Switches. I think it depends on the game. Like,
sure,
if it like something like Cyberpunk even would, I really don't think would be able to run on Switch. I mean, even The Witcher 3 like technically ran, but was like
but you don't want it to.
but you don't want to play it on the Switch, you know. It's, and like Doom Eternal, I forget if that's come out on the Switch or not yet, but I know they delayed the port of it, I remember.
I'm gonna say no, not yet.
Yeah. And because I mean, it's just games are getting really because it has the power of like an old iPhone. It is a real like you could be better off playing those games on your phone than on your Switch, you know, if it weren't for the controllers.
That's why I think that it needs to have a bigger bump. Plus, it's they're under new leadership at this.
That's true. Yeah. But so I think it's gonna be interesting to see how their like how their strategy changes, because obviously they're not just gonna become first party games only. Like, that's not sustainable. But I could definitely see them. I mean, they already are definitely very focused on indie games, but I could see them pushing even harder for that, because those are by and large going to be the games that will run well on Switch. You know, it's because they don't have all the crazy technology of those next games, and that's fine. Like, they still look absolutely gorgeous. But it's that more stylized type of thing that will run, and I think you'll see Nintendo pushing even harder on marketing those as like the majority of their library,
right?
Or at least like what you buy as Switch to play is first parties and indies, not. Yeah,
no, I see where you're coming from. I agree on most of that. I just thought while you were talking, I kind of had a thought, and I was like, well, what if it was, you know how people had that talk about how they should, or they were going to, you know, it was either a rumor or it was something that people just said they wanted, but like of a dock that had the power for, like, essentially imagine where the dock wasn't just going to enhance your Switch, right? It's just, you could put your Switch in there to charge it, let's say, but the dock is actually a console that was a 4K capable console. It was essentially its own console, but it is shaped to receive a Switch on the top to charge it. You know what I mean? Take maybe your save data or your whatever, but it could limit, just like how some games on the Switch Lite that don't have the Joy-Cons able to come off, you can't play certain games on that. It might limit certain games to only be able to play on the dock, but that's just how it is, kind of thing. and then you still have your indie games, or you still have games that can switch, right?
Mhm.
I don't know. That was something that just popped in my head now. I was like, what if
Yeah,
it was
I
more of a
think
actual console, you know?
yeah. Yeah, I could see definitely like instead of releasing a new Switch model, just releasing like a $300 dock,
Hmm.
like something that is actually powerful. The only issue with it being like basically its own console is that you almost completely lose like that Switch functionality because um like the reason you can pull it out and just have your game right there instantly is because it's running on the same hardware,
Hmm.
right? Like the dock is basically just a amped up HDMI cable.
I think that's
Um,
where. Sorry, no.
so and then where when it becomes its own console, it would have to like it wouldn't be nearly as seamless because you'd have to take what you're playing on the console and then transfer that exact snapshot of that game to your Switch over the internet or cord like through the connection or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and then like boot the game up on your Switch, which it doesn't have an SSD, so that would take a little bit. So you would maybe like have like 30 seconds of transition time when you pull your Switch out to being able to just playing. Um, and like that's not necessarily an issue. Like if that's just not what if they're not wanting to be quite that same seamless. Like you sacrifice that seamless switching capability for better like resolution or for the ability to play higher end games in the same way that the Switch Lite was you sacrifice you sacrifice the dock for the sake of portability and
Hmm.
price. I could see that maybe happening, but yeah, no, I could totally see them putting out just like a more expensive, more powerful dock as opposed to a whole new Switch model.
So my mind's going crazy right now. Just think, but I think I have the solution. So Nintendo, listen, unless you're doing it
Hire
already,
this man.
but here's what it is. Okay, it's its own console. It's being sold. Whatever the name is, still has Switch in it, but it's not. It's not sold as a Switch, right? It is its
Mhm,
own thing. It doesn't have to. The games that come out can be either for the Switch, where it will go to your dock and play on your TV, and back into your handheld version, or it'll say for Switch and for whatever this is, docked Switch. I don't know,
mhm,
unswitched. I don't know, but like no Switch, but like whatever it ends up being, right? Like that's the dock. You can have it maybe where like I think you're saying like how it's like it can stream that maybe from your system to your handheld. You can play it in your house to wirelessly like a Wii U controller, right? But and with like very little, almost no delay. Um, but you can't take it out with like to someone's house or whatever for those games that are for that
mhm,
dock. But then that way you kind of still have that switching ability at home, and maybe some more powerful games can only go on that dock, right? Only go on that console, and it's still receiving all your save data. It can save it on your system or on your handheld if you want, or whatever you want to do back and forth. Your profile information, all that stuff. You can do all that stuff, but then also you don't need to have your handheld switch in the dock in order to play the games, because you can still play it with just the dock in your TV, right? So in theory, you could still
mhm,
have
mhm,
your old Switch that you still have. You can play, have a friend playing it or whatever, and then you still have it'd have a way to play some of these Wii U games, like think of Nintendo Land, that you can't really port over right now to a
mhm.
Switch because you don't have that separate screen. I'm thinking of like the Luigi's Mansion minigame. I don't know if you ever played it, but you would basically have the person with the if you'd have the person with the controller with the screen on it, you're playing as the ghost, and only you can see yourself. And then people looking up at the TV, they don't see the ghost, and they're playing as little like me
Mhm,
characters with their flashlights, and they're trying to see the ghost. And it was like
mhm,
really fun. I remember playing it with my family, and like it was just a good time. And like you couldn't play that right now with the Switch. You couldn't transfer that over. You could do the
mhm,
motion stuff, sure, but not any of that split the screen stuff. So anyways,
mhm,
that's my full thought on like how they could sell this dock, but they would have to sell it as a separate thing, not a Switch upgrade, not as a
mhm,
Switch. It would be like, okay, you still get your Switch, you can still buy the new games coming out, but maybe some of them they won't be playable away from home, right? That's it.
mhm. That makes sense. Yeah,
I went on for a while there, sorry, but
it's okay.
I kind of thought of all that right now, so just wanted to say it. um, what else do I have here? Cut this part out.
Yeah, we can get out this gap.
Um, all I have left on here is the PS5 pre-order registration stuff and how they're handling that.
I
Uh,
didn't hear about that.
you didn't, hey? So
But when did that break?
let me start here. So we
Okay.
basically, so yeah, I think it was yesterday, or no, it was the day before yesterday. It was in the afternoon. I got home from work and saw that there were tweets going everywhere that Sony on their main like PlayStation website. I guess it's only for US. I learned about that today. But anyways, yeah, the 2 days ago I heard like, oh, they're getting people to register for a chance at being able to pre-order. And they're going to pick and choose
Oh, interesting.
their most dedicated players, basically
What?
the people who will say the best things about them,
Yeah, yeah.
to be able to pre-order a PS5 first.
So
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 some
is
people have already
stock like
gotten without a price. Some people have been able to pre-order the PS5 now and like lock in their
huh,
pre-order because they just have to type in their username. The benefit of that 2 days ago was that so my account had been actually broken into and I've been locked out of it since last December or November, and someone's been
mhm.
playing Red Dead Redemption 2 on my account, and I've been leaving it because they don't have my credit card information. So I've been like,
Yeah.
whatever, I'll deal with it when it's closer to PS5 release. This made me go, oh, I want to get information on this. I need to deal with this. So I got my account back. That's all good. Yay.
Okay,
But
yeah.
but that was the only benefit. And then I found out today that I think it's just for the US site, and that if you're not living in the US, so for me living in Canada, like it doesn't really matter. But I still registered,
Mhm,
and yeah, I mean, I haven't had a PS4 since summer of 2019, so it's
mhm,
been a
mhm.
little while anyway.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's really interesting
a little elitist.
because yeah, and also it's elitist, but it also makes me really because I mean we knew that the stock of these next consoles was not going to be very high. Like
Hmm.
they're going to sell out extremely fast.
Yeah,
Um, but I didn't think it'd be this bad. Like if you're having to pre-order your chance to pre-order without even knowing like what the price is going to be, then I feel like things are worse than we may have previously thought.
yeah. It's they say on. I just transfer this over so we can. This should work. There we go. So it shows on here that right here it says register for an opportunity to be one of the first to pre-order your PS5 console from PlayStation. Shows the sexy all digital version and the not as sexy. um, and then yeah, right here you can just type in your name. For mine, Nick Loeb, and and it says there'll be a limited quantity of PS5 consoles available for pre-order. So we will be inviting some of our existing consumers to be one of the first to pre-order from PlayStation. Pre-order reservations will be taken on a first come first served basis. So once you get an invite via email, we encourage you to follow instructions and act fast. If you're interested in receiving an invitation, register below. Blah 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 blah. So if selected, we will contact you via email before pre-order start. If you do not receive an email, you are not selected. I was not selected. That being said, kind of weird. It
Yeah,
really
that
shows.
kind of sucks.
Yeah, yeah, it does for a lot of people, at least.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of like another knot in the string of like not terribly favorable things PlayStation has been doing leading up into the next gen. Like it I yeah, I don't want to sound like I definitely do prefer Xbox, but I definitely don't want to sound too much like I'm just hating on PlayStation. I own both. Um but like leading into this next gen, it's been the sort of thing where Xbox has just sort of been gaining more and more goodwill with like between Game Pass, between like smart delivery, all these things. And PlayStation, I feel like, has just made so many weird moves like that. Or like the Spider-Man exclusivity, which
they're
I
both
don't
making
care
weird
about
moves.
personally because I'm not
Yeah,
gonna play it, so I don't really give a shit. But like it kind of sucks when you see stuff like how Minecraft Dungeons launched on PlayStation day and date, despite that being a Microsoft published game. Like when there's stuff like that where it just sucks when a lot of the industry seems to be moving towards a more connected
mhm.
way of thinking. You know, there's less of that, like less of those big, tall, like iron curtains between consoles, and it kind of sucks to see PlayStation stuck in tradition a bit. And I mean, this isn't really as much on that side, but it's still like just kind of, I don't know, just puts a bad taste in my mouth a little bit, you know?
I get that. I got a bit of that bad taste for sure when I saw that, but the way I'm thinking of it, or at least the way I rationalize it in my mind, is Xbox is the best place for value, right? And
Mhm,
PlayStation is where you go for the premium experience.
mhm,
I've had a 360 and I loved it to death. I had a PS4 this last generation, and then I sold it because I wanted to get some money for when the PS5 inevitably would come out. Um, had to
mhm.
play Last of Us Part 2 on a friend's PS4. But mainly I play my games on PC. So for me, I'm not going to buy an Xbox console, right?
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
the fact that their games come out on PC, I think that Game Pass is an awesome value. I love what they're doing. I think they made some weird choices in terms of games and development and stuff like that. I won't get into right now, but I do think that they're going to turn it around because I think their services are great, and now they just need the content. And the content will come eventually, no matter what. They've had commitment on it, and yeah, it won't be a great launch in terms of content, but it will happen. That's fine. And then a PlayStation, they're going, no, we are the best place to play, or we're gonna be, we are PlayStation. We have the biggest market share. We can sell our
Mhm.
thing at a premium. I bet you it's going to be expensive, and I think people are going to buy it. They have that thought process of like, this is a rare thing. I got chosen to be able to pre-order this,
Yeah.
and they can buy that, right? Like that's what I see
Mhm.
people are saying, and but like that's exactly what I thought when I first saw that. I'm like, oh, well, I was on the fence whether I wanted a PS4 right away because I'm the same as you. I don't really care to play Spider-Man or Ratchet and Clank personally. I know you said about Spider-Man, but like for me, Ratchet and Clank also isn't like very appealing to me.
Yeah, same.
But I really want to play Demon Souls remake. I really want to play the next Horizon game. So like I know stuff's coming,
Mhm.
and so I'm like, well, do I get it? Like I don't know if I need it right when it comes out. When a system first comes out, like it's the worst time to buy it. Really, technically, it's
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
the worst value. But I'm like, I might do it. And then when I saw, I was like, oh, register to do this, and you might get a chance to pre-order. I thought in my head, I was like, okay, well, I have the money aside. Like, I'm gonna get it then if I get chosen. Like, it's just what's gonna happen. So I feel
Mhm.
like that works, and that's gonna be smart. I
Mhm.
think it's a weird decision, but I think it's a smart decision. I think it will
Yeah.
work. And for people who can't afford to get it, they will go with some form of Game Pass, whether it's streaming it to your phone, which I've tried. I was in the beta. It works great. It works awesome, just not for a first-person shooter.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're both doing two different things: value versus premium service, and
I think
yeah,
at least the way I've seen it, it's less about like lie or value versus quality, and more about like first versus third party. Like Xbox seems very focused on having it be like the best place to play and like third party games because you get Game
mm.
Pass, you can play a shit ton of games for virtually free. Um, I mean, $10 a month, I guess that's not free. that but
There's no
like they don't
risk to
have.
trying games though at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's the most powerful console. It's gonna have all these extra features as that interconnectivity with PC. It's like the easiest and most powerful way to play third party games. But by doing that, like Sony has the thing of saying, but we have Spider-Man, but we have The Last of Us, but we like I think they're focusing. It's I guess almost analogous to like um Apple versus Google in like the phone market, and that if you want like that core Apple experience is really great. Like you get
right.
those different products, they all just sort of talk to each other perfectly, but you lose things like being able
But
to
then you're stuck
download
over there.
apps.
Yeah,
Yeah, but then you're stuck and it's not the experience of things that are not Apple specific is not quite as good, you know?
hmm
So I think this generation more than previous ones between Sony and Xbox seem like they're just focused on different markets. Like Xbox seems very much focused towards me, who isn't as interested in exclusives and is more just I want to like play what's out there.
right.
Um, and Sony seems more focused. Like they're just appealing to basically two different types of people,
Totally.
and I think will like the Xbox seems, I guess, be moving more towards the Nintendo side of things, where they're not necessarily trying to be a hard competitor to what's around them. They're sort of offering their own thing between XCloud and Game Pass and like the whole Windows experience as well. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No. I Okay, well then, if you were to get PS4, PS5, not PS4, would you get a digital or a disc version?
Oh, digital. I never play games on disc.
No
I'm
question.
and yeah, no, it's not even really a thought for me.
Mhm.
It's also, I mean, I I really don't like the look of the PS5. If I'm being 100% honest, the
Mm.
all digital looks slightly better, but like it looks like my dehumidifier.
It looks like
Is
a
the best
fan
way I
that
can
I've
put it.
seen. Yeah.
No, it has the exact same color scheme and
That's
form
fine.
factor of my dehumidifier,
I still like the way
but
the
like,
PS5 looks better than the PS or than the
yeah,
Xbox Series X, but I'm
yeah,
not buying it for how it looks.
yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
that's the thing. Um, there's like I mean, it's hard for me because I definitely am an Xbox person, but I
Mm.
probably honestly won't. Like, I'm probably going to get the PS5 first next gen because just because of the way the ecosystem's built. I
Yeah.
don't I don't need a Series X. Like,
Exactly. We
I have
both
a
have a
2080
PC.
Super in my
Yeah.
computer. Like, I can do everything the Series
Okay.
X can do
Okay.
already. I mean, I just built a new PC, so I
Yeah.
like spending the what $500-$600 on a new Xbox is
Mhm.
kind of redundant when I can play all the same games. I can do all the same things.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's a different thing. Like, and I don't think Microsoft is worried about that at all. Like, I think that's exactly what they want me to do. Is like the console's there for people who want it, but they're not making money off selling the console. They're making money off of me subscribing to Game Pass and buying stuff off their store. Like,
Yeah.
that's their revenue model, not as much the traditional Nintendo and Sony way of buy the console, buy the games, buy the exclusives.
Yeah.
I think it's just very, very different strategies from everyone around, which is interesting. It's cool to see a generation where
I
all
love
three
it.
parties are doing something totally different from each other.
Yeah, it's really really cool. I'm totally like I'm both. Like I love the PlayStation first party exclusive things. I don't like all of them
Mhm,
obviously. Like I'm not interested in
mhm,
Ratchet and Clank. I'm not but like the ones that I get excited about, like Bloodborne is what made me buy a PS4.
mhm,
And I
mhm.
didn't mind cuz I love that game so much. I love all the From Software games. But then like Xbox, I love Halo. I love a whole bunch of stuff from them that, and like I loved growing up or playing Xbox 360 a ton. And like I'm so used to that UI and everything. There's a lot of choices Microsoft and Xbox makes that I like better. So like I totally like I get what you're saying. Like there's two different things going on and it's fun to see
Mhm.
what's going to happen. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
only thing I don't like is all the toxicity, but I don't want to get into that. It's just um one thing I wanted to ask you, because we were talking about this the other day before we started this. We were talking about trying out a game every week and just like seeing,
Oh yeah.
and I can't remember what was the exact like thing you were saying. Was it like a game that we haven't heard of, or was it just like just try a game you haven't played yet? I
Um.
looked for something I hadn't heard of before personally, because that's what I think I
Perfect. Yeah.
remember. But
Yeah, the idea I had was we can each bring a game that you just think deserves more attention, like a game that you played that you don't think enough people are hearing about. So,
hmm.
and if it's on bonus points, if it's on Game Pass, because you'll play it
Oh,
risk
this is
free.
bonus points, hey. uh, so do you have one that you played that
Yeah.
recently?
I mean, I can go first if you want.
Sure.
So this one I didn't play this week, but I finished it a little bit ago. But it just got added onto Game Pass this week, so I thought I'd bring it up.
Oh.
Hypnospace Outlaw is
Oh.
a game I have not heard many people talking about, which is unfortunate because I would honestly say it was my favorite game or my second favorite game of 2019. Um, I'll bring up the
Here, I'm going to swap over to that screen if you want to keep talking.
okay. Um, it's essentially a God. It's such a hard game to describe. Okay. Um, it sort of takes place in that like GeoCities, like very 90s internet aesthetic type thing. And you basically explore that like fake internet is created, and you're a moderator essentially. So you're looking for people with like, it starts out just simple like copyright infringement and like malware and stuff, but and eventually you start to see these stories built up with the people that like take place in there, and it builds like just like this crazy attachment to these like the way it writes its characters in there, they feel like real people. Like it looks it like they feel like real people that you're reading stuff for, and like stuff like some serious drama goes down in it, but it's just such a fascinating story that's told in a really really cool way. um and like I mean the aesthetic of it, that like vaporwave-esque aesthetic, is super super down my alley, so I'm a little biased in that sense. But um if you're into like those sort of detective style games, like Emily's Away or Another Lost Phone or something like that, where
Hmm.
you were like piecing together something that happened within like a device of some kind, like in an operating system, I think it's definitely worth looking at.
Cool. Yeah, I was actually I was looking at that yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, what is this?" And I watched that little video, and I was like, "I still don't know what it is." And I was
Yeah,
thinking, like,
it's
I should keep that in mind. But if you're recommending it, I'm definitely gonna have to give that a
yeah.
try and let you know what I think. Um, for me, my game. I'm just seeing if I can get this one up. My game is called Undermine, and basically I'll get through all my menu stuff. I just recorded a bit of me playing it, but essentially it's like a roguelike kind of top-down pixelated game, as you can see. And like I just started the game and just kind of you just drop down into a mine. You're a peasant that's being sent down by like a wizard to essentially look for something. I can't even remember. It looks like fun. I like roguelike games, and so I jumped in, and then you're just like you're collecting money. You can kind of see that in the top right corner. And then as you're going through the dungeon, you're going through floors, and there's like a boss floor eventually, and there's like fire element. I'm on fire there. You can jump over stuff. That's kind of your dodge, is just to jump, and then you just have an attack, and then a way to throw your weapon. So if you die, you lose a like a percentage of your money. It starts out pretty high, and you can buy upgrades to lose less money when you die. And then you use that money on your next character to buy permanent upgrades, where you'll use those permanent upgrades. Like those will just like say give you more health, and that'll be on every subsequent character after. And that's pretty fun for me. Like I like that kind of game. It's mindless. You can kind of watch a show while playing it, because if you die, you're still making progress. I personally think once xCloud comes out, this is one of those games that'll be really great. It is on Game Pass, and it's one of those games that'll be really great to play on xCloud, because it doesn't matter if you have a little bit of a delay. Just skipping through here. So when you die here, so yeah, it's like when you can, I don't know, a game that you can play with delay. Totally my kind of jam, but I never heard of it before. Sounds and stuff are really good too. So
Nice.
yeah, that's the one I played. So Undermine, try it out if you have Game Pass. It's a good one for sure. I'm going to be playing it more after this, and
Sweet.
also Wasteland 3, because I've never played a Wasteland game, and I saw it came out today on Game Pass, and I'm totally going to play that too.
Yeah, yeah, no, Wasteland 3 is like a perfect example of why I think Game Pass works, and that that is not my genre in the slightest. Like
Me
the
neither.
like very like I mean, for lack of a word, better word, nerdy, like very in-depth art, like strategy RPG is not my thing. But I've been looking at downloading it just because there's no risk whatsoever. Like,
Yeah.
and even more so, I think when XCloud comes out, because like the only real risk to it now is just like the download. Like there's space on my computer, it takes time to download it.
Hmm.
Um, and but if that step isn't even there, if I can just play it in the cloud and it's like not the best experience, but I can get a feel for what it's like, I can get a feel of the tone in the world and stuff.
Yeah,
And then if I like it from like an hour or so that I play on the cloud, I can download it and get that premiere experience and all that.
that's true. I didn't even think of Wasteland 3 as one for it, but yeah, like obviously that'd be a great one. You're right. Uh, yeah, that's also for like just longer games. If they're gonna be more than 20 hours, it's like nice to have
Totally,
it on
yeah.
the go to be able to play it on the couch. Or yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited to play that today. Yeah, glad I have the weekend off. Yeah, I don't really think there's much else. I think we're wrap it up here. But I wanted to address a couple of things just at the end for anyone who does happen to watch to the end. Thank you. That's awesome. Obviously, we would appreciate that. But I wanted to say, like, the way everything looks here, I'm just looking off at how it looks right now. It's all in progress. Gonna try to improve how everything looks as we continue. We're just gonna keep doing this, I think, as long as we have fun doing it, and that's all there is to it. But if anyone watches this and has suggestions, personally, I'm really open to it. I'm sure Ziggy's open to it as well.
Oh, yeah.
Having any constructive feedback, and Zig, do you have anything to say before this?
You can follow me on Instagram. My handle is in the image at Ziggy Hickson. My art account at zhicksart. Twitch.tv/Ziggy Hickson. Those are all my main outlets you can find me at.
Ziggy Hickson.
Ziggy Hickson, yeah. It's all under my name. My
He's
name
cool.
is Great Search Engine Optimization. So
yeah,
you type in Ziggy in Google, you'll probably find everything.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's pretty much Nick Loeb everywhere. The only thing I think actually on Twitter it's I_Nick Loeb because I couldn't get Nicolobe, but otherwise everything else it's just Nick Loeb, and you can see that right down there. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope everyone has a great day and stay healthy out there. Let's end that now. So yeah.